Hi everyone, and welcome to the first tutorial for the Mercenary Artist Guild. Today's lesson is going to be about acting, and we're going to start where I think all acting should start, and that is with character. Now, the reason being is not for the audience to understand. Quite a lot of actors play very similar characters. Honestly, many movie stars are kind of paid to play a very similar type. The reason that a character is important is not just to be a chameleon like you'll see Gary Oldman or someone like that being. But I find that making the character not yourself makes it much easier to share it with everyone. To be honest, right now I'm probably the least comfortable I am because I am being me as opposed to being some version of me that's whatever. Case in point. Your character might be playing the most embarrassing moment of their life. Now, if you're going to use your own embarrassing moment and you're really feeling that it's you, and you're going to be showing that to a million people, it might make you want to hide that moment, hide it from the camera, or honestly your reaction might be something that's less than theatrical. So, I find it important to have a separation between who you are and the character you're playing. You may look alike, you may sound alike, you may not have any sort of accent or any sort of difference, but there needs to be something in your head which lets you know that it is not you up there, because that'll give you the freedom to actually play. So the first lesson today, we're going to work with centers. I find this to be it's a good place to start. It'll talk about how, you know what, let's just stand up and demonstrate. Right. So, first technique I'm going to work on is something called centers. A lot of what I do is based off the Michael Chekhov technique. I'm starting with centers because it's one of the simpler to show. This technique is very much based in physicality rather than overthinking. So a lot of what you're going to be doing is trying something physical and then trying to see how that might affect you mentally. Centers. I want you to think about the center of your attention. Now, if you're doing theater, the center is actually going to be a lead. It's going to be something you want to push out and you want to show the audience to some extent. If you're doing a smaller independent film, something with a lot of subtle close-up camera moves, you're going to want to make that more subtle. We'll start with the chest. Chest is a typical leading man kind of character. I want you to imagine you have the Iron Man little glowing thing in your chest. So it's a big white ball of light. And everything goes from here. Again, start off kind of big so you can get a sense of it. So it's pulling you forward everywhere you go. Now it might be, again, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. You might feel differently because suddenly your shoulders are back when you're pulling yourself forward. Your posture's a little more upright. It makes you feel a little bit differently. Just kind of like wearing a suit makes you feel different than wearing old sweats. It might be affecting your psychology some way. The important thing is to see how it makes you feel. So walk around, feel the center in your chest, and once you feel how that might affect you psychologically, I want you to bring it in so it's a little bit smaller and again more subtle, so it's just your attention there as opposed to throwing it out. Once you feel a little comfortable with that, I want you to lower this to your stomach, make it expand a little bit, and see how that affects you. Again, if you're doing theater at the Amundsen or one of these big theaters, you want to have a big kind of motion so the audience can see what's happening. If you're just doing it for film, maybe it's just a slight shift. And just for me, this makes me feel like talking a little bit slower, like I'm a little more worn out. But that's for me. It's really important that you don't go into this feeling that you have to have a certain emotion based off of this. However it affects you is fine. If this makes you angry, great. As long as there is some sort of change, it's perfect. Next, let's just move on. The obvious one, the groin. You're playing a kind of Lothario character. Yes, you're leading with your crotch. Again, if you're doing some independent film and your character is very sexual, you might just want to think about your nether regions while you're walking around, and all your attention's there. And it's really not a matter of, oh my god, look, I can see where you're leading from. It's a matter of how it makes you feel. Now, if I'm talking to you in a presentation to camera, I might want my center my chest because it makes me a little more confident, a little more in charge. If I put it in the back of my throat, I might have a more nervous character. Now, again, that's just how it affects me. So, your center can be anywhere. Back of the throat's a nice one, your right knee is a nice one, your finger, it does not matter. Your homework is to try, if you're brave, walk in public, walking with a lead in your chest or anywhere. You're going to have 3 leads, try walking around with them, try making them subtle, so you're just feeling it, it's just your attention. And notice not just how it makes you feel, but also how people interact with you. And most importantly, have fun with this. I understand this may seem crazy and weird and you want to think about your character's backstory. I implore you, just try it. Give it a week. Try it a few times a day. See if any sort of emotion comes out of it. Personally, I've found that a lot of the characters, a lot of the emotions, if you try to force them, don't look right or they don't come. Whereas if you have a spirit of playfulness, you'll have a much better time. So try this, and next week I'll give you another technique. Thank you so much.